Live presentation. Presentation language series from English a la carte, presenting information. Now, when you need to make a presentation or when you want to present information in a very professional way, you need to think about structure. You need to think about idea organization. So for that, we can explore different communication tips or communication strategies like the ones we have here. So let's practice a little bit with pronunciation and tips and communication strategies. So the first one is to introduce the information. Yeah, so remember that when you want to share ideas in a very organized way, you need to present the information. Yeah, so for example, in today's presentation, I'll talk about, and then you mention the topic. Yes. So in today's presentation, I'll talk about pronunciation. Yeah, so it's very important to introduce the topic so the audience is aware of what you're going to talk about. Then you can say, I will mention. I mean, this part, remember, this is not the only way, but this is just one of the ways. So I will mention 3 ideas about pronunciation. Yeah, so you defined the framework of what you want to say. Yeah, so when you want to share information, you mention the topic, and then you mention the ideas that you want to develop based on that topic. Then we have transition. Transition or transitioning is quite fundamental because it's like going from one big idea to another big idea. And remember, you are talking to people and sometimes they're not paying attention. So you need to let them know that everybody's transitioning into something new. So here we have this, for example, let's start with, yeah, so imagine that I said that I want to talk about pronunciation. So the first idea is about pronunciation versus accent. So let's start with pronunciation versus accent, and then you go with it. When you finish, you can transition to another idea. Now let's continue with, yeah, so let's continue with structure, for example, right? So this is going to allow you to transition. Transitioning is fundamental. So remember, transition is like using big connectors. Yeah, so we have transitioning and we have connecting. So let's say connecting here. So connectors connect ideas. Yeah, so usually they connect smaller ideas. So you can use them to give examples, to contrast, etc. So here we have sequence. For example, first, for example, so, because we are using a sequence here. Or you can say on the one hand, on the other hand. Yeah, so because you want to contrast. So remember with that, we have different types of connectors, but these are 2 of the most useful ones we may find when we want to give sequence or we want to contrast information. All right, but you can use other connectors like consequence, like exemplifying, etc. Retake. Retaking is a technique that is fundamental when, let's say that you are making a presentation, you're giving information, and then your audience is going to participate, so you need to retake the information. Yes, for example, you can say, that's very interesting, or you can say, that sounds like an interesting experience. So it's very important. Sometimes we may feel anxious about the activity and we don't know what to do. So we are in our heads, and because of this, we don't pay attention to the listener or to the other person. So we need to be careful. Retaking is a wonderful technique we can use to show that we appreciate the other person's ideas, time, and participation. Let's continue with fillers. Fillers are techniques we can use to make a pause, take some time to think what we're going to say. Sometimes we believe that having a good conversation or making a perfect presentation means that we never stop speaking. No, sometimes we deserve to make a pause and think before we speak. So here we have this, for example. Well, let me think about it. Let's imagine that I am asked a question about economics, which is not a topic I know a lot about. But because I need to give an opinion or give an answer, I can use this and say, well, let me think about, let me think about, all right? Then we have, how can I say it? Let me think. Sometimes we can use this as a filler, but sometimes we may not have information about the topic. So we can use this. How can I say it? Oscar, how can I say it? Or, hey, let me think, for example. Now, engaging. This is fundamental. Sometimes we speak, and we forget that we have people uh, paying attention or not to us. All right. So, for example, when you are presenting information, don't forget about the audience. So you can say, "What do you think about this, Oscar?" Or I don't know about you, Oscar, but I think, okay, so when we apply this technique, we engage the listener in conversation. So this is quite fundamental. Let's talk about interruptions. As we know, sometimes uh, we need to interrupt people. We need to jump in and just try to speak and share information. So we need to be careful because we don't want to be impolite, but we need to do it. So here you can say, that's great, but what do you think about these? Or no, wait, because we want to interrupt. We don't want to give the other person more space to talk. So you can say, that's great, but let's consider these, all right? Da, da, da. Or you can say, let me say something. Let me say something. And then you interrupt. Don't worry, don't worry. Sometimes you need to interrupt, so don't be shy. Just do it. Okay, conclude or when you want to finish an idea. So you can say to finish, I would like to say that. So usually when we conclude ideas, we summarize a little bit what we said before. So if you decided to talk about three ideas at the beginning, try to paraphrase, conclude, summarize briefly those three ideas. Or you can also say, before I finish, let me revise, and then you go back to the three ideas very simply. Before I finish, let me revise what I said today. Remember, pronunciation is about understanding accents, grammar, structure, etc. Okay, so you do that. So basically, when you present information in these activities or in general, think about organization. Think about the topic and the ideas you want to talk about and the way you want to use language and the way you want to pay attention to your audience and the way you want to just go on with this activity. All right. So don't forget, practice makes perfect.